Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny. I'm a life coach, believe it or not. And today I'm talking about why INFJs have no money. I lied. We have some money. It's just not enough money. And if you're listening on Anchor, I'm trying this intro song thing. So if it works, the intro song was Money by Pink Floyd. If you want music, if you want my music, you can listen on Anchor. Um, so let's just get into it. Yeah. Why do we struggle to make money? For one thing, I think we are so uncomfortable like asking for raises and things like that because we are empaths and we feel everyone's emotions around us. So if we have to ask for a raise and it's going to make that person uncomfortable, we have to feel their discomfort. So it almost becomes sort of a way to protect ourselves is not speaking up for ourselves. We just want just everything to be calm and peaceful. We don't want to stir the pot. And that can lead to not advocating for ourselves in terms of raises and promotions and things like that. Another thing I have is that we're not good at knowing what to say in the moment. We think of what we should have said like hours or days later. So if we're in a situation where we have to negotiate, we're really not good when we're put on the spot when we just have to shoot from the hip. So that's another place we struggle. And it can help if you can do something to prepare or ask for time to think about it. Some people, maybe you're offered a promotion and you just say yes in the moment because you want to make everyone happy. And then you go home and you're thinking about it and you're like, actually, this sounds miserable and I don't want to do it. So, yeah, just if you can get used to just saying, like, well, can I have some time to think about it? Sometimes that can help. Capitalism does not value our gifts, okay? And our gifts do not translate well into a resume. You can't put on a resume like, I have really good intuition. So that's tricky. Saying that you have good intuition, you're an empath, you feel other people's emotions. Uh, Most people aren't going to take those things seriously on a resume, unfortunately. And typical workplaces don't really value those things, right? They value money. They value money. So yeah, it's hard to find a place where our gifts are valued. Um I'm thinking places like nonprofits could be a good fit for something like that, but then nonprofits usually don't pay very well because capitalism doesn't really value nonprofits. So it's a struggle. There's a part of me that just wants to scour the internet and find rich INFJs and just interview them and look for patterns and be like, how did you make your money? Was it in a meaningful, fulfilling way? And just look for patterns. But I can't find any rich INFJs to do that with. So if you know of any, leave a comment and let me know so my brain can start analyzing. Okay, so our gifts don't translate well onto a resume. We also have trouble receiving. We have weird sort of guilt and shame around money a lot of the time. We kind of see people who have money as bad. We think they did something bad to get it. And we have trouble receiving money. We feel guilty about it. It's like, oh, well, there's other people who need this money so much more than me, right? So that's another place where we get stuck. Um, Part of our problem with receiving, actually, I think, is kind of about control. We we always want information. We always want a plan. We always want to know what to expect, and receiving doesn't really fit into that box, right? So part of receiving is just getting comfortable letting go of control and accepting help and gifts and money and compliments and just accepting good things. So that's one thing that I think is good for us is just practicing receiving and not feeling guilty about it, and feeling like we deserve it. The other thing I want to say is money is neutral, right? It's how you spend it that adds positive energy or negative energy. Money is neutral, right? If you think about what did we have before money? I mean, I think we were just bartering like vegetables or something. So vegetables are neutral. Money is just a replacement for those. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but yeah, money's neutral. It's just something that you trade for things that you need. And you can invest it in things that are good, or you can invest it in things that are bad. It's really up to you. If you have it, then you can help support the things that matter to you instead of letting some evil person decide how to spend it. Um, our jobs, we need our jobs to be meaningful. It's hard to find a meaningful job, especially a meaningful job that pays well. And I think the best way to make money is just to do something that you love, right? Because otherwise, you're just going to get burnt out. The only way to really consistently make money is to do something that you're passionate about, because that's the only thing that's not going to burn you out. And even if you are passionate about it, right, like you can still get burnt out, but that's what's going to keep you going, is if you're passionate about it. So really, the best jobs I think for INFJs are jobs where you're a solopreneur, artists, writers, teachers, counselors, therapists. I think those are the jobs that we do best in. And again, some of those are hard to make money, but if it's something that you love, it's at least something you can keep building on. We're also overwhelmed really easily. We have very sensitive nervous systems. So especially if you're in like an office or somewhere with a lot of people and bright lights and loud noises, that's really overwhelming to our system. We get really fried. Our nervous system gets really fried in most work situations. I really don't think humans are designed to work 8 hours a day. And that really affects us a lot. Like we need time to we need to be able to manage our energy levels and manage our nervous systems. And regular jobs where you're just stuck and you get like a half an hour break or whatever do not work well for us at all. Sometimes we have our energy in the morning, sometimes we have it at night. You know, if there's something really intense happening, then we need to like go lay down afterwards. So yeah, regular jobs it's really hard for us to manage our nervous systems, our sensitivity, our energy levels in a normal job because we don't have enough control over our environment. I also think that we struggle with our self-worth. I think self-wealth and self-worth are connected. And so if you have poor self-worth, then you're not really going to feel like you deserve to make a lot of money. So, I mean, part of making a lot of money is making it. I think the other part is just believing that you deserve it, right? So that's half the battle, is believing you deserve it. The other half is figuring out how to make it. Yes, whatever you're trying to earn, you are already deserving of it. That's another thing is it's like we have to prove our worth. We're always overworking. We're always overperforming, trying to prove that we deserve the raise, right? We're always just pushing ourselves above and beyond, over delivering to prove that we deserve this raise. And so a similar reframe is just whatever you're trying to earn, you're already deserving of it, right? If you give 110%, then they're just going to expect 110% from you all the time. And then there's nowhere to go when you really need to earn something even more. So we care so much about doing a good job. And then I think if we're not giving 110%, we feel guilty, like we're not doing a good job. Our 90% is like other people's 100%. Like we really do care about doing a good job. So part of it's just letting go of perfectionism, um, and not feeling like maximum effort is required to feel good about the work that you're doing. You can give it a good, valid effort without having to give 110% all the time. And I think perfectionism ties into that too. If you are a solopreneur, if you're trying to be, or if you're a writer trying to write, any of those things, we get we have problems the more emotionally attached we are to whatever we're creating. And that's another problem is if you're writing a book and it's just like your baby and you care so much about getting this story into the world, then having to make money on it or wanting to make money on it really complicates things. It's like the more we care about something, the harder it is to make money at it. um, it's I don't know why we do that. And so a way that I like to look at that is, don't make it about you, because when you make it about you, then you're worried, what are people going to think about me? How am I going to sell this without being salesy? uh, what if people don't like it? What if people I know read this? So what I do in those situations is just take you out of it, right? Just pretend it belongs to the universe. Okay? And the universe wants this to exist, and you are just the vessel that it's using to create this thing. And then it's like, oh, it's not about me. I'm just like a servant. This idea, this creation is its own living, breathing thing, and I'm just here to birth it into reality. I know that's a little weird, but it helps. And if it helps, that's all that matters. Okay. Um, if we're selling ourselves, so this goes back to the solopreneurs again, we see selling as manipulative because we see everyone else who's out there doing it and they seem manipulative, because a lot of the times they are. And then so we kind of learn that selling equals manipulation, but it doesn't have to, right? That's how everyone else is selling. You don't have to sell that way. Your audience is probably going to be people like you, other highly sensitive, empathic personality types, and they hate the manipulative selling too. So you're trying to reach people like you. They don't like the manipulation either. It becomes just like, oh, I have this thing that I want to you to help people. And so I'm just going to talk about it because I want people who need help to get the help. And so when you think of selling like that, it kind of changes the dynamic. So just to wrap things up, I would say you need to start trusting that your strengths have value, even if that's not the message society has been giving you, right? Society gives us the message that our strengths are not valued, but that's society. There's people who need your strengths, okay? There's jobs that need your strengths. They just don't know it. They're just not really conscious of it. But it is needed. So, especially now, I think the world is changing. So, just trust that your strengths do have value and there are people that need your gifts. That's one thing. Another thing is, if you're trying to do your own business, is to think of your business like a lemonade stand. Don't think of it as you're trying to build this big, complex building. That's not your business, this big, complex building. Think of it like a lemonade stand. And you're just going to go to the corner, and one week you're going to sell regular lemonade and see who shows up. And maybe they'll ask you for blueberry. And then you're like, oh, that's a good idea. Next week, I'm going to try blueberry. And it's just more experimental. You're not building it you're not building this big, huge, complicated thing and then praying people come to it, right? It's kind of more like you're co-creating it with your audience as you go. And you're just testing out different little things that don't take a huge investment to create. It's just something simple, something easy, put it out there, see what happens. And that's going to change depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to write a book, it might be a different story. But in general, I like to think of products as just like different types of lemonade, and I'm going to see what happens. And if nobody buys the lemonade, it's not a big deal. If no one shows up to this $100,000 building I made, that's a bigger deal. Lemonade's not a big deal. Any way to take the pressure off. And the last thing I was going to say, one of the last things, is we're introverts. So we're not good at networking. And a lot of success, unfortunately, really is who you know. And we don't usually know a lot of people, like not deeply, not well. Like maybe we have a lot of acquaintances, but we don't have deep relationships with a lot of people. So we're not really the best at networking. So the knowing the right people, being in the right place at the right time, and knowing all the right people, it's not always something that happens for us very often. And then the last thing, this is the last thing I'm going to say, is we're weird. We're weird and it's awesome. And we should just embrace it because that's what makes us unique and we're authentic, right? And so if you're unique and rare, if you step into that, that's something people want, right? Something people can't get anywhere, something that's rare. So just embrace your weirdness, step into it, be unique, because rare things are in more demand than not rare things, but we're usually hiding our weirdness. And so, yeah, I think just be weird and have fun with it. And that's how you find your people ultimately. So that's everything I have for money. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in coaching, I'm just going to mention really quick that the first session is free. So there's no risk if you decide that you hate it. You have lost no money, only an hour of your time. And that information is on my website, which is going to be jennydobson.com. The link's in the description. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope to be back soon.